generally a co-editor on anthologies. And what I do is I'm the one that actually produces the book. So I've learned some really hard and fast lessons on how to get lettering ready for print. Uh, and some of those lessons I've definitely learned the hard way. And specifically today, if I go back, we are looking at two lesser known programs. So lots of people are familiar with Photoshop, but becoming more standard nowadays is CSP, Clip Studio Paint, or as I used to know it, Manga Studio, which shows how long I've been using this program. Um, and uh, we'll talk about so many people are using this to make comics from start to finish. But unfortunately, the pre-press and its lettering techniques are a bit clunky. It's something that if I could have their ear on what I would get changed to the program, that would be it for me. Um, and then also looking at Affinity, which is the well, not knockoff Photoshop, but Affinity, which has brought out like a Photoshop equivalent, an Illustrator equivalent, and important for publishing things, something called Publisher, which is your InDesign equivalent. And the best thing about these programs is you just pay outright for them, you own them, there's no subscription service. So for small independent creators, it's just so good. All right, so if I so this panel is more about some little techniques about lettering, not how to letter. So for how to letter, um, if can everyone see this on my screen here? This is Comic Lettering Basics by this is the person who does the lettering for all of the anthologies I've done, which is Eve Greenwood, and they do on itch.io. It's evewood.itch.io/comic lettering 2025. It's like a $3 52-page guide which covers the basics and it's fantastic. I sometimes have sent this to paid paid Eve some money and sent it to cartoonists when they start working with us, just to help them if they don't have that much experience with lettering in their work to get some basic ideas down so that when Eve comes in later, we've got a good form. All right, so onward to what we're talking about today. So, techniques for making bubbles in CSP. So, sorry, my camera is in the way of stuff. So I've got some example pages here. This is from my own webcomic, Infernal Relations. I'm going to get rid of this to the side. So my favorite technique for bubble making, well, like most people, let's clear some space and get going. Um, so most people when making a bubble, so I've got a folder for text down here. They'll just new layer, put down a line. You know what? I want just a nice big. Huh. You know when you actually get started on something in front of people. There we go. This way, like the art obviously is nice to see, but I can see it gets a bit confusing. So we'll pop down a new layer, and a lot of people they want to just put down a line and go around it. Perfectly good. So that hand lettering style is very good. But then if you've got artwork underneath it, how are you going to fill it in? So easy technique is layer underneath. And then what I tend to do is I go to the layer that is the outline, I'll magic wand, and I'll refer to editing layer only. I'll select the outside area, so all of this is selected here, and then clip studio all your different. So you've got deselect, invert selected area is the one I'm going to grab. And then also, because that area is going to have a bit of pixel on the outside, I need to bring it in. So I need to shrink it slightly by, say, sort of 2 pixels, get that inside area. And then I'm going to go to my layer underneath. So we call this white and this ink. And then you can fill with any color you want. I'm going to use a slight off yellow so you can see what I have done there. This my preference with bubbles, everyone has their own preference here, is to just put all of the inks on one layer and all of the white or like bubble fill on its own separate layer. But it does mean when you have stuff like overlays, it's a bit trickier. So some people just do one bubble for every single set of text. Um, I tend to do all on, tend to combine them all unless I've got overlaps. And that's my own preferred technique. But for me, I just don't draw bubbles very well. Some people are very good at bubble drawing. It's just not my thing. My preferred technique is, if I get rid of those, my preferred technique is using layer styles. So what I'll do, if I create a new layer down here, lots of people have their CSP set up a different way. So you might have to look for this. So the thing I'm looking for is something called layer property here, which unfortunately the Zoom meeting bar has interfered with where this is, but it will be on window and you'll find it here, layer property there to make sure it's actually visible. Um, and what I'll do is there's a set of different boxes here, and I'm going to do border effect, and I'll pick an edge color, so black, sort of standard, and about 5. And then what I do is need to make sure I'm deselected using lasso tool, for example. I'll on this layer, if I fill in yellow, everything I fill in yellow is going to have that outside border like that. So it's just for me, that tends to make my bubbles look a little nicer. And then I can use any tool I want to then create those bubbles. Your disadvantage for this is you don't get a nice clean vector point there, which, plus and minuses, right? But I think this is one of the easy ways to do this. And it means that so I can go to my ellipse tool and just get a nice circle like that. And also you've got your polygons. Well, if we do a fill area polygon, Manga Studio has some very interesting things where you can change your drag point. And because I don't use polygon very often, my drag point is in a different place than I like it. And you do have the disadvantage that this is a pixel layer. So when you're moving this about, then it's going to cut it up. So there's your advantage or disadvantage with that different technique there. But it is quite good because then to avoid that, what you can do is create a layer folder instead. So if I put that yellow into a layer folder, and then what I can do is put a border effect on top of the layer folder. Make sure that's black, and then as an ellipse. Selection tool. Come on. Object. And then I can move the bubbles about as I will. As you can see, it sort of homogenizes. So you would have to do a separate layer folder. But that is a basic of how to get that done. Now, my other technique. So we've done drawing a line and filling it in. and then there's the bubble background and line effect. And now the other thing that Clip Studio can do is use that. So in Clip Studio, you have, oh, wonderfully set up already. So you can download packs. So Clip Studio has a massive material library that you can go on, search for different objects, and these are, as long as you have bought Manga Studio, sorry, Clip Studio Paint, you can use these. They're what's the word I'm looking for? It's not royalty free. It's and it's not quite open source, but you understand what I'm saying. It's that you don't have to credit these because they've already earned their dues. So what we're doing here is so if I get myself ready to go. So I want a nice spiky balloon because that's my personal weakness. I just can't draw spiky balloons for the life of me. I just pull it in and I've got this uh like nicely pre-drawn balloon ready for me. Now, you may see that it has done an interesting thing here, which is so Clip Studio does have a bubble tool, which combines the two layers together into sort of one layer. But I think the layer alignment technique it uses here is actually very bad because uh, and it's a little bit annoying for exporting. So for me, what I tend to do I'm gonna undo a bunch to gonna get rid of that balloon. And I'm actually gonna drag to nearby the object and then move it over into place because having them connected has a couple of disadvantages when it comes to exporting stuff. So what I tend to do is have my lettering all on top and then bubbles underneath. In some ways, it is quite useful having them connected because you know if you pick them up, you can move them around, and that's really cool. This is the tools for that subtool balloon. So you've got your ellipse balloon here, and you can see it's sort of combined with this layer there. Um, but I just couldn't get on with it, and it's because the balloon tail technique. Well, let's do some nicer colors, shall we? So the way it selects colors is down here in, you've got your foreground, background color, and that'll be the color of your balloon. Um, so I'll do this surely. And yeah, that's combined there. Good. And so if I now go to balloon tail, there's a couple of different options. You've got your straight line like this. You've got your polyline. Oh, will it let me do multiple on balloons? Yes, it will. And you've got spline, which is your curved. Now, I think these are reasonable, but the reason I revert to that technique number two, where has it gone? So this technique number two, drawing a bubble background, is because I like a hand-drawn tail. That's my reason why I'm so about the previous technique I showed you here with the yellow border. Just because I am a massive fan of the type of balloon where so for example, if I'm in this but you might get lonely down there. I love that do I want it to do. It's just not. Okay, so that's uh mm, that'd be why. Folder isn't opened. So I love a little tail that does stuff like that. And it's just not possible using the Clip Studio special sort of bubble technique. And you can do little things like this and balloons. I just love how creative you can get with it. Um, all right, back to importing and borrowing other people's bubbles for you. Let me get rid of this so it's out of the way. So if you do the import an asset, if I go to that balloon tail and click on there, so you can use Clip Studio's bubble tool to edit and add to any, it would be the asset is set as a balloon. So it knows what it is and how to respond to it. No, tell a lie, does the balloon pen? Ah, okay, there we go. We're learning together. There is a tool called Balloon Pen that lets you do more drawn tails, but as you can see, um, it's that you have to go there and back again. It's not that you can do the sort of one line and it does the border for me kind of thing. But there's some nice stuff so you can do sharp angles and brush correction and things. And then the other thing, which I think is relevant to this is, so what if that balloon is too thick? So what you need to do is go to your object tool, object, select that, and then you can change your brush size here to make it the kind of size you want. And the other thing you can do is combine the two techniques that so technique 2 and 3 that I'm talking about here. If we make that entire line color white, so the entire, you know what? I'm going to use object tool and I'm going to make the entire object, the line and the background border. Is that going to do it for me? No, of course not. Right, select that, line color. All right, not doing it. Let's see. So I mean, sometimes Manga Studio has stuff that's completely hidden. So I've managed to change it to white, but changing it back again is not playing ball. There we go. Uh, that's fascinating. It's changing. Wow, you've got to love a program. So I'm on foreground color and I want to change to this. Fascinating. So, I can tell you what it is. It's because the object is um Clip Studio Paint will sometimes do that. Some objects can only have two colors. They can only have black or white, which it uses a lot of the time with if you're doing screen tones. So some layers only have black and white, some layers will have grayscale, and some layers will allow you to have color. And this is like a little thing within a program that can just have you going, why is this doing it to me? One easy way to change this that I think is a really cool thing that Clip Studio does is if you select here in your layers, you'll get layer color and subcolor, which will let you change an entire layer to something. So it's one technique to get all of the black to a certain color, all of like the white in a layer to another color. So, all right, back to where we were. So if I was going to do to so now you can see what I've done is I've turned this bubble all that one color, and then I can use this border effect, turn my edge color black, make it a bit thicker, and then what I can do, that's sort of, oh no, I need to do it the other way around. I need to do the thing I was talking about earlier, which is in the folder. Let me get rid of it. So I can have the bubble. I can select that color, do a nice balloon tail out like this with a swirl to it. And then if I apply to that entire layer a black border, it gives me that hand-drawn tail as a possibility. I'm sure what most people sometimes do is they'll just draw it and then combine the layers together or erase in between. But it's a nice way to make editable bubbles that way. Do we have any questions on that one? I can go look at the chat myself. Now we good? All right. Let's. All right. So those are your techniques for making bubbles in CSP. So this is a technique that something that took me a long time to discover in CSP, which is just how to select the multiple text areas and change the fonts of all of them. So in Clip Studio, if I go to my text subtool, I can select one here, but if I hold Shift, it doesn't select. And if I hold Control, it doesn't select multiple ones. And I can, and if I select multiple layers there and then go to text, I'm using something called Ashcan, but if I try to select a Baby's New, it doesn't work, doesn't change it. It does not work how Photoshop works. So what we need to do is there is apply to at the top, there's new only, and there's selection mode, add to selection. And what you can do then is select all of these. It'll be selected text. And let's see if this works. Yes, that would change all of them. Tiny little technique, but something that I've spent a very long time trying to select multiple things in Manga Clip Studio Paint, and it just not work. And if you go on the Clip Studio Paint's website to see how to do this, it will actually send you on this beautiful adventure. Let me just, what I want is to be able to see my menu thing without Zoom getting in the way. So this is something that's only applicable in Clip Studio EX, I think. One sec, what? Version information. Yes, the EX. So there's something called story in EX, which is multiple pages. So it's a great way to have all of your work in one place. And in here, there is edit text, open story editor. All right, let's see which window. So what it is this thing that completely has every single bit of text across the entire story, and you can use this to change it. So it's kind of cool in that, like, you could control find, say, if you're changing a character's name, you can control find and then go through the entire story, like editing them that way. But it's so archaic and niche. I'm just fascinated. It really shows sort of that this was made for manga as opposed to for Photoshop or something. Because big thing in manga is sort of that the text goes in first before all of the artwork, which is a holdover from when it would take so long to manually put find all of the characters. So they used to have to use screen tone sheets to put all the characters into manga, sort of basically pasting it in from a big book of these are the correct kanji. So it means that artists would do a sketch, set the bubbles, set what the bubbles would say. Those would go over to the letterers, and they would start lettering while the mangaka was making the manga to get it out as quickly as possible at the same time. Anyway, a bit of history stuff there. But yeah, so from this, you can also change the entire fonts across things to that, but it's very difficult to use. So it's something that I don't think most people will ever use ever. Do not save, thank you. All right, so next point along. And now another massive tip is how to save Clip Studio Paint files so the text is editable in other programs. So this is using bulk export, which unfortunately is only a Clip Studio EX thing. So if you've got the cheaper version of the software, it's not something you can do. So like on a normal program as a normal user, you would go File, Export, and then you would export, but you see it says next to it brackets single layer. And what that means is if you export to a Photoshop document here, it looks like you're making something that you can edit in Photoshop. All it will send is a completely flat layer. This was something I tested before I started the panel just to make sure this is still the case. Yes, unfortunately, this is still the case. So the only way to export it so you can actually click on the text and edit it in another program is you need to export multiple pages and go to batch export. And then export, there's a couple different formats. We want Photoshop so we can actually do it. I'm only doing this page. I've already saved this one. And then you need to make sure the text is clicked here. And then you've got a couple options. So what it means by image only, image and text, text only. Image only will export a bubble and a pixel image of what that text looks like. So it would, whereas image and text only will export an editable, a text file that you can edit. And then image and text will export both of those. So I'm going to do image and text so I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to export RGB color because it's easy. As a general rule, I tend to do all color correction in other programs, not Clip Studio Paint. I'll get into it later, but Clip Studio Paint doesn't have CMYK color formatting, which I think is a major problem with the program, but Clip Studio has so many other beautiful tools that is great for artwork, which just means that is why we use it. So what I'm going to do is open that page I've just exported in Affinity Publisher. Just make sure I've got the right one. Yep. So now I see I've got a folder with text. I've got all of my text is editable here. And I've got my bubbles underneath. Yeah, there we go. So quick and easy fix for that one. Wow. And now moving on to something I've touched on, the why 100K back is important in printing. It's because of this. So if you're doing small runs of up to 500 comic books, you will be absolutely fine just sending stuff on, just hit convert to CMYK and send off to your printer, and you should be absolutely fine. It's what I did with my webcomic recently, and the printing stuff turned out okay. But if you're doing bigger runs, you'll probably be doing litho printing, and litho printing means that it's basically large scale screen printing. So all four colors, your cyan, magenta, yellow, and black K, will all be different screen prints, different litho rolls, and they will print the page in turn, and all of those will join together to make the final page. But it means that around text, you can get this edging where the plates haven't lined up correctly. And it's really important. And one of the main things I do as an editor is make things as easy to read as possible. So what you want is you want just the K to be there. And that's where the phrase 100K black comes from. So if I go to Affinity, so I've just exported this text. Well, let me zoom right in on there. Just exported this text, and I can see set fill. So I'm still getting used to and also I have two screens, so I have to pull the thing along. So to see what color this text is, I can either click on this button here, and so I've got my this is my text fill here, or I can go here, which is the set fill for the entire layer. And what you can see is these are the sliders of CMYK. What I want is I want that text to be all black. I want no Y, no M, no C. And then that text will be good to print. So if you bring any files into Affinity Publisher, your job, if you were getting a comic ready for litho, would be select all of your text, go to the text color button, and then cheat is I go to all white, and then I bump up the K to 100. So yeah, it shows what so much of my work as a editor is or producer is this kind of small detail work just to make sure that this text is really clean when we go to print. But what happens if, say, this text is rasterized? So, for example, say I'm actually going to bold this text so we've got, and you can see a little bit more what we're working with here. So say we have this text layer that's like it's a mixture black. It's a rich black, you know. That's the term for blacks that have lots of layers underneath, because you want your artwork to still have those rich blacks, because otherwise they can be slightly translucent. So let me select that layer. So I'm going to right click. Doesn't want to, so I'm not selected. I'm just going to make a copy of this layer. And I'm going to rasterize it. Okay, so what's some different ways to get this to 100K black? Sometimes you just get files off someone which you can't use, or don't let you edit the text. One of your option is just get rid, retype it in. That's the hard workaround, but sometimes that's easier than some of the things I'm about to do. Your other option is to use your layer styles. So in Affinity, that's right click. Oh, no, it's much easier in Affinity. There's no right click. You want FX, layer effects at the bottom. You can do, and this works perfectly fine, a color overlay. So you do color, and from there we can do the flash to white, flash to your 100K black there. So that's one technique for getting in there. And you can do putting all of the text into a folder and then applying that color overlay on all of them, and that also works well as well. And that's quite nice, especially if you have like a different character speaking a different color. That's a way to make sure they're all the same color, and just to do like bulk editing of lots of them at the same time. I'm going to get rid of that FFX. If I just untick it, it goes away. There we go. Now, you have other options, but they use... so one of the cool things about Affinity is, can you see up here, there's different personas you can use. So I'm in Publisher persona right now. So what that does is, so for example, let me do that. So what I can do is duplicate these pages, and you can see this is how you start laying out what your comic looks like. But its tools down the side are a little limited. So it's not really a pixel editing program. So say I got in some artwork and I wanted to like do a small edit because I've seen a smudge on it, but I don't want to go back into the Clip Studio or Photoshop file. What I would do is, while I'm on the page, I would click to your designer So designer is Illustrator. What I want is my photo persona, and then that gives me the ability to make pixel layers that I can just draw. So I've got my classic paintbrush tools and things which just aren't available in the publisher edition. But it means I have the ability to select areas. So for example, if I know I want to change all of these bubbles to CMYK text, but I've got it all flattened, sorry, 100K text, but it's all flattened. There's no way for me to get in and edit these. But as a quick workaround, what I can do is, where are we in here? There must be. There we go. Freehand selection tool. I can select, literally select, come on you, and then shift select the next bubble and shift select the next bubble. And then what I'm going to do is go layer, new adjustment layer. And all right, a couple of different ways to do this. Because what you can do is a channel mixer layer. So everything in this underneath this layer will not, you can decide. So if I do output channel CMYK, I can get rid of all of my cyan, yellow. Oh, I'm sorry. The label for the thing is above. That's very confusing. Um, Black. Okay, and get rid of that. All right, let's test to see if that was done. So deselect that. And then if I do color picker tool and go over this area, yeah, what I can see is that I've got 100K black here, and I've got all of the other colors have been removed underneath. So there's a couple of different ways to just remove those other colors behind without having to re-letter everything from scratch. So some other things I think is important in Affinity is, so for example, what I did there was I brought in a file that I exported from Clip Studio, but when you're dealing with much longer comics, so when you're talking about 100 to 200 pages, having all of the lettering in Affinity does cause really large file bloat. So what I tend to have to do for a lot of the comics is that it's easier for me to bring the entire thing in just as a flattened layer, flattened image. But that does mean that I'm having to use one of the selection techniques to be able to get that text to 100K instead. So what I'll normally do is save as, literally just export as JPEGs, make sure they're CMYK, because if I go back to Clip Studio Paint, if you do File, Export, Single Layer, so if I export as a JPEG, there's that setting up that. You can do different expression colors, so you can do CMYK color. And that's what I would do to bring from Clip Studio into Affinity. And also you can set it up in Affinity. So if you, I believe it'll be in your file. Yes, so placement plot and to reduce file blow, you want generally my placement policy is linked. So it's about making sure the files are linked to the JPEGs instead of just being inside the document itself. One thing I discovered, if I go back to publisher mode, that uh, if I brought an image in and then cropped it, it changed the color profile of the document and led to a lot of our files being thrown back to say that the lettering text was rich black instead of 100K. There is a known issue with the crop changing the color format of pages in Affinity Publisher. If I wanted to crop this, so what I'm going to do is select all of this and flatten it together just to show you what I mean. So I'll punch rasterize. That's an interesting one. I think in have I ever? So I know how to group, but how do I like just flatten something down? It might be that in Publisher you can't do that. Let's try in Photo. Just these tiny things that if you're so used to Photoshop, rasterize and trim, doesn't it? There we go. Merge visible. Uh, yes, which is very interesting. So was that available to me and I just didn't see it? Yes, that's a fun one. So it seems like in Affinity Publisher, there's no merge visible, but in Affinity Photo, there is merge visible. Lovely. Oh, programs. So I've got this and I want to just have a single page, say for example. So if I use the vector crop tool, it will change my text and it won't be printable for litho printing. So what I have to do instead is I have to go to this tool, picture frame rectangle tool, and I need to set a picture frame. And then I need to put my pixel artwork inside it and then move it into the correct place, which I appreciate seems a bit convoluted. It's not brilliant, but that is unfortunately the only way to do it in Affinity. But the picture frame tool is pretty cool. Um, so for example, let me get rid of this so we can see what's going on a bit better. So if I make a nice circle one, perfect for making icons and things like that, I'll go hunting for that. I'll just move this one to that into the picture frame there, and that's placed my artwork in a circle, which is just a nice, cool little thing. You can tell this program is very much aimed at editors for that reason. So if I click, that will move the bubble about, and if I double click, that'll move my picture around within, so I can do like a nice icon image or something that way. Yes, so that's covered the known cropping bug, which I went on the Affinity forums to complain about, and I wasn't the first person. So this is the techniques that we have gone through. And there we go. That brings me to the end of lettering in CSP. Let me bring up my Zoom meeting thing. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching.
I think we might have some questions if anybody wants to bring them up now. Now
Yeah,
would be a good time.
yeah, I can see where this is.
We got one from Nero.
Oh,
He
yeah.
asks, is there a way in Affinity to apply the color overlay for rasterized text to multiple layers at once without merging?
Okay, one sec. Can I hear all of that again just to make sure I've got the right setup, please?
Yes, the question is there a way in Affinity to apply the color overlay for rasterized text to multiple layers at once without merging?
I understand. Okay. Um,
Additional, I know
Yeah, yeah,
Affinity
sorry.
has macros.
Yeah, I'm found the comment and I'm just reading through it. So you're saying you've exported a file. There's multiple layers that have the text, but the text is all merged to the bubble underneath. Is that correct? Like, yes. Okay. Um, I think your best bet for that. So I assume this is you're going through some old comics and you're like, what have I done? And you're like, what's the quickest way? I think the quickest way in that circumstance is to go onto photo and do the selection tool there. Because if it's a merged layer that is both the black and white of the bubble, um, uh, no, no, you could. One sec. Let's see if we can create something like this. I think uh, go to my file. I'm going to merge my text and bubbles together. So they and then uh, oh, and they've disappeared. Why have we done that? Oh, because we've untoggled visibility or something. This is fascinating. All right, learning stuff about a new program. Oh no, I see what it is. This bubble is my old bad bubbles from when I did it myself. Yeah, so this one, there we go. We've got my bubbles there, text there. All right, yes. So if I just, I'm gonna have to do the thing where you create a pixel layer above to merge my text in. Oh no. Hmm. Okay, so I think I have to rasterize my text and then I can merge that with my bubble layer. Oh man, it really doesn't want you to rasterize like your text. And then what I'm gonna do is select uh half of it, paste that on another layer. All right, so now we've got two layers of text, um, which so we've got two separate layers of text, and I know, so if I zoom in on this and use that eyedropper tool, I can see that like this text isn't good to go. So what I think might be useful uh, is can we folder these? Because if we can folder them together and treat them like a group, and then we do layer, a new adjustment layer. Okay, so what's going to be useful here? Maybe your channel mixer, maybe your selective color. Honestly, channel mixer has been really good uh, for me. Yes, because you can see there's a slight use of being able to, yeah, because then you have the trickiness of, so how do I get rid of all of that, all of the color? Interesting. And then bring alpha down. Now it looks like there's some red there. Oh, one sec. We're on RGB, not CMYK. That would be helpful. Um, so if I pull the cyan up, does it fix it? It's definitely in channel somewhere, Nero. Um, so I definitely have done this one before, but it might have been in Photoshop. Because you want to. Yeah, I wonder if we pull that cyan thing. Yeah, all right. Now if I go to one sec. My document is not set up in the right color profile, so I can't double check this one. Oh, it won't let me change unless I'm in Publisher. So back to Publisher, document setup. I would love you. Here's a useful thing. File, document setup, color, CMYK. I use Euroscale uncoated because I print on uncoated paper and I'm based in Europe. That's pretty simple. Ooh, it's gone all brownie. All right, now let's see. So in Affinity, we've got the channel mixer adjustments here. Right. Why is it turning this brown? What can we do? Oh, this is fascinating. Sorry that this is a lot of me playing around, but even if, so it seems like in Affinity, even if whatever your document setup is, you can do channel mixers in different ones. I'm just gonna get rid of that channel mixer thing and start from scratch. See if I can find new layer adjustment. Hmm. Black and white isn't it? I want black and white adjustment on group. My question is, what does it mean by black and white? Ooh, fascinating. So it looks like it's refusing to do color adjustments on groups, which is annoying, but I can still do it on text. Huh, this is fascinating. Right, so let's see my values. So I think you can do black and white color adjustment and then have a little play with these. But for me, this is sort of kind of a grayish output. I don't think this is quite what we're looking for. I think Channel Mixer was our best bet. Because if I drop all of those, that's it looks brownish to me. So it feels like it's doing something different to what I want it to do. Fascinating. I know, is it because I'm in cyan and I need to go? Ah, so we need to go through all of these. Yellow, get rid of that, and pump the black up. I appreciate this is sort of a long way around things, but once you actually, and then go to black, and that's getting rid of my black. And alpha, what does alpha do? And alpha in that's such a fascinating thing that Affinity has that Photoshop doesn't really talk about that much. Um, is that alpha is transparency, just general transparency, and that's such a fascinating thing to work through. All right, so um, here's your solution. It's channel mixer adjustment. You need to be in CMYK and CMYK. You need to go through yes, alpha is the opacity basically. You need to CMYK and then go through each different ones. So you need to go through cyan, magenta, yellow, bring those all down. Um, uh, and so black needs to be at max, cyan, magenta, yellow needs to be minus, for all of them. And then if I just do if I close, and that needs to be on, you can copy this channel mixer adjustment um, to every layer that has done that. Unfortunately, it will also make your bubble area, your outside line, CMYK, sorry, 100K black, but that I think is a small price to pay for the amount of editing you're having to do. Um, and then if I use my eyedropper tool, I the eyedropper tool in Affinity, yeah, there we go. That's turned that all 100K. Um, sorry that took a little lot of time, everyone, but I think sometimes just having someone else to work through it is nice, right? Yeah. Um, I can see here I've got from Hika Tamaki, quick question, if there's time between bubbles, dialogues, and SFX, which should be in vector, what can be in raster without headaches, and which switch back? Love dialogue, definitely in vector and editable if you can. SFX if you can, but sometimes it's hand drawn, so use your what works there. Um, yeah, it's mostly just text. Your bubbles you can get away with a lot. And what should be rich back versus 100K? 100K is just for black text only. So when I'm sometimes I do comics that have red text or something like that. Those you can just use them normally. There's nothing special you have to do there. One side thought I have just as we finish is that if you are doing um, like a text box, which is like often I find myself doing like rectangle text with like oh, and a quick note about Affinity, they've got two ways that you can do text. It's artistic text tool and oh sorry. And there's also over in Publisher, there is uh your frame text tool. That's great if you're making paragraphs and things. And that if you were lettering in Affinity, that would be my preferred instead of artistic because it's got some great stuff with line distance and like kerning that's very useful. So and it does like box overflow. So if you write over the amount that can fit, it does this little red thing that shows that it doesn't fit in. Anyway, long story short, if you were doing white text in a black box, it would be really good to get and make that uh, rectangular frame 100K black uh, because you might get that same thing that we talked about earlier with the haloing happening. And that's the only circumstances that you really need to think about 100K. All right. If that's everything, thank you very much for turning up. And I'm glad I could answer some questions and help what is quite a frustrating little process sometimes, getting lettering done. Uh,
Yeah,
that's
I've thanked everybody for coming to the Knitting Fest. I hope you had a fun time with this panel. I do want to just really quickly drop our donation page. It helps us keep things running. Also, our charity zine, which is made by Cartoonist Co-op members and supports us running events like this and Knitting Fest in general. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.
brilliant.
Tab, thank you for such an informative panel. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their Saturday.
Brilliant. I'll be back this time tomorrow with an anthology panel with myself and Ollie Hicks talking about our process behind when we worked on an anthology together, and also as artists, what advice for pitching to anthologies as well. So if you can check that out, I hope to see you there. All right, goodbye.